everybody, and good evening if you're on the East Coast like us. My name is Alex Batal with Babylon Micro Farms, and as we start, I have two requests for everybody listening in. First of all, I want to encourage all of you in the audience today to devote your full, undivided attention to the conversation that is about to unfold because it is a genuine treasure to be able to borrow some of Shelley's valuable time tonight. And as you'll hear in just a few minutes, she has had a diverse range of experiences that have led to her subject matter expertise in what we are diving into today. And so, my second request through your attentive listening is to jot down all of your questions for us because this topic is so critical to the future of the K-12 environment and beyond. And I know that Full Circle 26 and Babylon Microfarms are just tickled to have you guys in the audience and have the chance to engage with you guys today. So, with that being said, Miss Shelley, I will let you introduce yourself to the audience and then we will dive into our dialogue.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for this, and thank you, Babylon, for the opportunity to really talk about our experience with hydroponics. We love it. We've been working with hydroponics since 2017, 2018, have seen the whole area just explode with not only schools, but also businesses. And so Full Circle is a full service organization that only not only partners with great brands like the Babylon Micro Farms with the STEM Garden and also with training and in addition servicing. So we really know hydroponics from the start to the finish and have found over the years that it's a great learning tool, definitely for hands-on learning.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'll start with our first question. Shelley, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen teachers face when introducing hydroponics in the classroom? And how does Full Circle 26 help address those
Right.
challenges?
Great. As the CEO of Full Circle 26 Inc., I also am a soil farmer. And so many of our teachers were soil farmers and
Hmm.
kind of did not know how to transition into soilless, which we consider hydroponics.
Right.
And when hydroponics first went in the classroom, it went under kind of that outdoor garden kind of thought process versus
Right.
the STEM and STEAM applications that can be done with hydroponics. And so we
Yeah.
saw one of the biggest challenges were how to use the equipment as a learning tool. We've seen a lot of equipment in closets not being used, and that could have been
Hmm.
maybe a teacher started and left the school.
Right.
But talking with some actual teachers that um, are facing the challenges, how to get the most of this equipment as a learning tool. And that
Yeah.
was the biggest because it's such a new category. There wasn't really curriculum developed that supported it. So we have
Yeah.
trailblazers as far as educators, one in particular out on the East Coast. That has done a great job with her students and using it as a
Mm.
tool. We also have a train the trainer program in which our director of program development and leadership really became the root of using the equipment with her students who were grades second through fifth grades in Sterling, Virginia, and seeing the results of her with project-based learning, hands-on learning, utilizing. And she was the first person that told me, Shelley, it's more than the equipment, it's the learning and the takeaways
Hmm.
that kids have. So how we address it really is to be able to give that train the trainer program, how
Yeah.
to use it as a learning tool, not only for STEM, science, technology, and engineering and math. We also bring in art because,
Mm.
agriculture, landscaping, drawing, and we believe that hands-on piece of it with the students, with our curriculum, gives the teachers the tools they need, but give the kids the fun that they get a chance to see
Right.
that seed to harvest. And that's what you want, that
Yeah.
sense of accomplishment for the children. And if I can quote Janie Ray, our director, she said, make it the kids program. A lot of
Yeah,
times, I've never like she went on vacation and the kids were doing all the maintenance for the equipment maintenance and the plant maintenance because they took a sense of pride. So I think the
absolutely. Yeah.
biggest challenge that the teachers had was introducing is how to introduce it as more than just a piece of equipment in the classroom.
Yeah, it's a whole platform that's meant to be engaged with to your point. It's not meant to be kept in a closet, so I love that you guys have developed programs where that it makes that access so much more easy and is just ready to hit the ground running with those who are utilizing your services and your expertise. So I love hearing that. So kind of on the flip side, we talked about
Mhm.
one of the challenges. I would love for you to share with all of us listening one of your, I know you've got many, but one of your success stories regarding a school that integrated hydroponics effectively with the support of Full Circle 26.
I would have to say the greatest opportunity I saw was one of our Sterling, Virginia schools. The kids decided, and it was a teacher who was also had the equipment in the library. One of the two, another thing is the equipment has been in the cafeteria. So we suggest that the cafeteria is a great way, and that's where it kind of first started in the Sterling, Virginia schools, that the
Hmm.
kids that were not only in the program, but kids that could see the growing, could smell the plants, and it
Yeah.
got the whole school. Even they would drag their parents in. Hey, look what I see! Well, look what I'm doing! I'm growing plants, mom and dad.
Hmm.
And so I would say when they decided, and it was a chosen by the kids to take our one of our systems to the science fair. And because of the way that it's such an engaging program, they did everything from the presentation to the attendees to creating quizzes, to film it, to have videos.
Wow.
And I think one of the greatest things I observed was a young woman, and again, these are second and fifth graders. She said, "Can
Hmm.
I have one of your brochures? Because I'd like to go to the mall and sell these units."
That's amazing.
And to me, they hit on every aspect of our motto, what we call our 3D model, sustainability, which is using plants for STEM, STEAM, now vocational, health, food accessibility, mental health, but the enterprise part of it. And so this
Yeah,
young lady actually saw the benefits of it from that standpoint as I think she was in third grade. And
I love
so I
that.
have to say that really set us on at least for me as the CEO of the company, that the equipment can do more than just growing plants.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that some of the kids are thinking about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So, yeah, it really does go beyond just being a piece of equipment. I know that some of our university partners who have our larger unit, the gallery, one of them being William and Mary here, the College of William and Mary here in Virginia, they transplant what they grow inside the farm to pots and then resell it at the local farmers market in Williamsburg. So, that is just another way, second and through fifth graders could absolutely do that too and kind of have a little fundraiser. So I love hearing that they're thinking that way too and can learn how to be independent too with this platform. So that is so cool.
hmm And I think too, with the kids, that seed to harvest, many kids have grown up with computers, and that
Hmm.
actuality of taking a seed, placing it into, and we also promote, you can grow the seedlings and transport them out to the container gardens too. But
Yeah.
I think the kids get a chance to have a real life experience because the plants require watering, they require the equipment required maintenance and nurturing, nutrition, neutering, and taking care of the plant.
Hmm.
So it's a living organism. And I
Right.
think that the kids get a different experience. We had over probably 800 kids graduate from that program over the last 6 years, with probably hundreds waiting to go. And it was a before,
Wow.
during, or after school program. And it was so successful that many of the administration wanted to see why there wasn't a lot of disciplinary actions. And because
Mhm.
we know that teachers are under a lot of stress, right? Definitely
Absolutely.
coming back from COVID.
Yeah.
And so I think that, it was totally with integrating the hydroponics that they had a hands-on experience for success.
I love it. Yeah. And it seems, and this kind of leads into my next question for you, but what you guys do too, and just hydroponics in general for the school environment, kind of fitting into a lot of different subjects at school. It's not in necessarily an addition, something else on your plate to have to teach. It's something that you can incorporate across a lot of different subjects. So
Hmm.
it really is a great tool to help support a lot of different goals for a curriculum, it seems. So
Hmm.
I would ask my next question for you is we touched on STEM and STEAM a little bit, but how do you going deeper, how do you see hydroponics supporting interdisciplinary learning between or beyond STEM and STEAM
Hmm.
subjects?
What we saw not only with the children's, I also utilized hydroponics to teach agriculture to workforce development
Oh
for
yeah.
adults. And we don't emphasize STEM and STEAM as much, but touch on it so that they know how to what's going on with their kids. But
Hmm.
from the student standpoint, there's so many. We look at it from equipment standpoint, that there's measuring, so you have math. It's still under
Hmm.
STEM, but it's a hands-on. But we
Hmm.
also purposely, when a question is asked, we say, go research it and bring it back to the class. So you have research, you have data collection, you have all the parts of what's going to be, you have the participation, the group activity.
Hmm.
We see leadership come out of there. We had a lot of things from being able to actually, we found out from the kids what we could actually grow hydroponically. I had no clue that we could grow root vegetables in the systems.
Yeah.
And one of the things with exploration that the kids are able to explore and make a choice so that they have responsibility. In a
Hmm.
planting spot on the system, that is their planting, that's their plot of land that's on the
Hmm.
system. And so you have responsibility, you have accountability, you have leadership, you have project coordination.
Yeah.
And, these kids go away with a lot more soft skills
Mhm.
from learning versus strictly the STEM or the STEAM.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
also saw, we have public speaking. Each of the kids, and even with our adults, we assign, if you ask a question, we want you to come back and present it. So, presentation skills, public speaking skills are very important to the program so that the kids have a buy in and they also feel like they are contributing to the total program. And that's the
Yeah.
key, is having a program versus just having equipment in the classroom.
I couldn't agree more. That is so true. And I think too, kind of fitting into the different avenues in which this can be utilized for, I know horticultural therapy is something too that we've seen with a lot of our clients, particularly in the senior living and healthcare spaces. And not only just the benefit of being around the produce and touching it and having those textures, smells, tastes, and everything, but also doing activities like flower pressing or, that fits into like the arts piece or making candles with oils that they marinated some of our herbs in. And so there's so many cool things we've seen come about. And I love the therapy piece to have that cognitive stimulation,
Mhm.
especially, I think that could be incredible for special needs classrooms too, to
Mhm.
have them also enjoy and get the benefits out of it. So I agree. It's definitely more than just a piece of equipment. And I think with the toolkit and all the expertise you guys bring to the table, it, it makes kids almost unstoppable with what
Yes.
I'm sure like how they feel about themselves and what they believe in, and that carrying that into adulthood is just awesome. So
Yeah.
I
And
love
then
that.
to your point too, we had one of the biggest, I think, another success was a group in Kodiak, Alaska, and it was a high school special needs students, and they wanted to prepare them for the vertical farm coming in Alaska. So, believe it or not, Alaska is a food desert. And we had some of the best letters that were written by the students that said, "Hey, I know now I could be a farmer, or I can be a scientist, or I could work in this facility too," because you
Mhm.
also have workplace training also with the new, controlled environment agriculture, all the vertical farms that are popping up around the country. But for special needs, even with our programs in Virginia, many of the students were directed to those programs that Miss Ray was running in the classroom, and was having outstanding success. So
Yeah.
across the board, and then you mentioned seniors too. Seniors, the whole sensory, there's a whole part of our program that's sensory. We call it tactical healing tools,
Mhm.
where you can use all your senses, because the activity itself, but the plants, the smells, the taste, the touch, and accordingly,
Yeah.
those are all things that are tactical skills and
Mhm.
tactical knowledge that can be learned also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's also a lot of potential. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience here is with Virginia Cooperative Extension or something similar in other states, but kind of collaborating both outside the school to utilize this platform. And I'm a proud Virginia Tech graduate, and I was, this is so nerdy, but I was in Ag Econ Club. And one of the things that we did in Ag Econ Club is we were at the state fair every year, and we had these bins of different seeds for commodities that Virginia is known for. So corn, soybeans, cottonseed, and some barley. And within each bucket, we also had products that are made from those things. So in the soybean bucket, we had candles, we had crayons, we had other things too. And so I think this is also an opportunity to have that community focused
Mhm.
education as well, through the schools or through whomever else it is that's utilizing Full Circle and hydroponics to get out there and also engage with the community and kind of extend that knowledge and awareness.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So kind of going into a different subject with culinary schools. So, how have you seen culinary schools integrate the hydroponic farming into their programs, and has it had a different type of impact on its students' approach to fresh ingredients and sustainability?
hmm I think in the last 3 years, and it really was coming out of COVID, we have been participating in the restaurant show, the International Restaurant
Yeah.
Show, for a number of years. Many of the participants, which were culinary students that attend that show, um, so at first was like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice. We can grow our own produce. And then within the last 3 years, definitely after COVID, we started seeing more of the chefs, and a push for more locally grown ingredients. And then from the customers that we have, we started seeing a lot of culinary teachers. Whether that's we do a lot with the San Antonio School District, and the culinary teacher did a great job of tying into the cafeteria. And so what they were growing, they were using on sandwiches and salads. We've had Cincinnati State curriculum, culinary professor there that reached out to us to bring in hydroponics, because he felt that the students needed to really be able to grow their own herbs and things, and really have more control over their supplies and their ingredients. Our friends and partners out in Vegas at the University of Nevada, and Growing Gears. Vegas is a big culinary
Yeah.
location, and so they are also moving to create, and they have wonderful gardens out there, but around hydroponics, and again, teaching the culinary piece of it.
Hmm.
We're looking now in Milwaukee. There's a group that is teaching nutrition and culinary, and we're looking to partner with them, because they have to get their ingredients from the farmers or from the stores, and we're looking to actually bring the hydroponics so that it's a complete program. It's
Hmm.
the kids, again, when you see the students, whether they're kids or adults, and they get a chance to see a seed become something that they can either eat with a
Right.
plant or a beautiful flower. And even from that standpoint, for culinary, there's edible flowers, which
Right.
Babylon does a great job with your systems to grow color, the edible flowers. But we have seen an increase not only in education but in commercial for the culinary teachers, professors, and now the chefs are looking
Mm.
for more of that fresh ingredients because there's nothing like, just like a garden, there's nothing like a fresh tomato grown in the garden.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing like a fresh piece of basil grown in
Yep.
a hydroponic system, and or microgreens. Even teaching
Yeah.
microgreens and the culinary benefits and nutrition benefits for that.
Yeah, that's actually the analogy I use all the time when talking with potential clients about the produce we offer is fresh tomato. When you get a tomato fresh from your backyard, it's so much sweeter. You've been able to enjoy it because it's not going through transportation. That is a whole process that takes, if you prematurely harvest a lot of vegetables and then they mature in ethylene chambers before they get to the grocery store, they're not getting that same nutrition that they get from sunlight and being harvested right off the vine when they're ready. And so that's one of the benefits with systems like this, where you're growing it in-house on site. It's a farm at the table, not farm to table, farm at your table. And so we get so much great feedback from our clients on the taste and the texture of the produce. And we're like, I mean, they're doing their things. We can't take credit for how great the plants taste. It's just when you treat them in that way, they give you their best. And so, we have had, a lot of interest with culinary programs too, because, they can use that, and we try to make it as easy as possible to use the farms too, so that they don't have to worry about losing the crop. So yeah, that's such a great example and great reminder from culinary teams.
Yes, it's just just and I've seen even seniors also that they just love to be able. They might have been planters and gardeners in their day, maybe physically can't do it. That's the other
Hmm.
beauty of hydroponics is that you know anyone of any ability
Hmm.
can grow hydroponically. It's not a physical type of thing. And actually,
Hmm.
I had a veteran. That I met, and he loved it because he said somebody in a wheelchair could actually still grow with
Yes.
a
Yeah.
system that was a tabletop or accessible system. So it allows a lot of opportunities across the board.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of senior living partners, and have lots of pictures of that exact thing that you just described, Shelley, of seniors in their wheelchairs, at the table. The trays that we have too are very lightweight because they're not waterlogged. So we try to make it accessible to anybody, and manageable to anybody as well, so that they can reap the benefits of everything that we're talking about. So yeah, couldn't agree more. So my next question for you is, as hydroponics and controlled environment agriculture continue to grow, what advice would you give schools who are looking to integrate these programs?
Mhm. One of the things I would say, because we have seen an increase in indoor farming, or there's a lot of terminology around there. You may see controlled environment agriculture, vertical farms,
Hmm.
is to find out if those operations are in your area. We have a
Hmm.
great partnership with Oishi on the East
Oh
Coast,
yeah.
and I know that they are in several locations. There's a huge hydroponic leading edge company that grows really specialized strawberries.
Hmm.
And they can, I think, get up to $50 a pound. So,
Yeah.
but to reach out to local operations, and maybe they would come and talk with your class about hydroponics, even aquaponics also with the fish. But this is all
Yeah.
under aquaculture,
Hmm.
which really is, we're probably about, I'd say, anywhere between 10 to 20 years behind the world in this area.
Hmm.
We have countries like the Netherlands that are growing now tulips and begonias. There's
Okay.
Asian countries and Indian countries that are growing saffron and
Hmm.
other rice.
Yeah.
And so I would say that as this grows, as as a maybe module in a lesson plan, and this is one of the things we do with our trainings is, and this comes under the research, is tell
Mm.
me all the ways that hydroponics are being used or alternative growing methods are being used in your state, in your community, in your country, in the world, and having that as an actual um, presentation that they would have to present
Right.
because most people don't know about this. There are big facilities like in Milwaukee right now, and many people have no idea. And there's one that the operator grows in containers,
Yeah.
basil, microgreens, mostly leafy vegetables. And that's primarily what most of the large operators, because it's the easiest thing to grow.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
it's lettuce and like basil for some reason.
Yeah.
So my advice would be for the schools to integrate these programs is really look at it, number one,
Mm.
across all your disciplinaries. It could be math, it could be math, science, education, engineering, art, and math. But
Mm.
also, we like to have the cafeteria involved in it within your school. Looking at those teachers that are doing things that you can bring in and integrate in different classrooms, and boost your hands-on opportunities, so that the kids walk away really with a full understanding of this new category of farming and agriculture. But I
Yeah.
believe not only within the schools, but also, integrating across curriculum, but also looking at who are the operators in your community.
hmm Well, you just tapped into part of the next question I had was, um, how do you foresee the role of partnerships between schools, businesses, and organizations like Full Circle 26
Oh, yeah.
evolving the future of hydroponic education? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, since we've been in it since really late 2017 and also 2018, and just seeing the rapid now, I would say in the last 2 years, is that I think the partnerships between school and business is definitely number one.
Mm.
Just like, I would love to hire someone that can, understand, because we do servicing. Well, there's other companies that like Babylon. You guys need people that are trained. So mentorships,
Right.
apprenticeships, without businesses that are in this category. Restaurants, if you want to have a real life experience for your students, maybe contact the local restaurants.
hmm
Any of the food pantries. Many times things that you're growing, you can't give a disperse directly. Well, you can grow for a purpose. And I think
Right.
that's how you really um, expand the partnership of what you're doing is number one, growing for a purpose. So maybe you want to grow
hmm
for the local food pantry, or maybe you want to go and take your program to the nearest senior living facility or a daycare, doing something like that where you're not only um, learning about this, but you have a real life and you're able to expand. Organizations like Future Farmers of America highly
Yeah.
recommend. You have your 4-H groups, and you have those groups who can bring the commercial and the entrepreneurship parts of that. So I think
Yeah.
across the board, even trade groups, because you need electric and you need water. Well,
Yeah.
that's your trade groups. So
That's
I
true.
think across the board, the partnerships are there definitely for the schools to do outreach to the businesses that are in this category, but
hmm
also businesses that can benefit from what you're doing, which is teaching your kids how to grow plants. Local florists in the area.
Yeah.
Every community has florists. Well, I'm sure they would love to see that your students are growing plants and flowers. Maybe they want to have you custom grow for them. In
Yeah.
addition to that, I see this also because I know that schools and educators are always looking for funding. And I'm
Yeah.
a real under our 3D model of sustainability, where we teach people the viability of entrepreneurship with hydroponics is really great. I my one of my exercises are how much is a plant at Home Depot.
Yeah.
We have our students collect seeds and they can see the whole process. But again, making sure that we're preparing our students, our adults, in our community for really being sustainable with food and jobs and also education and health
Mm.
across the board.
Yeah, and it's definitely giving them a platform to take pride in what they do and in their community as well, and bring those connections. I know that for Babylon, something we are really passionate about is those community opportunities, and really empowering people to have access to fresh produce. But then also taking pride in that and getting out there with, not just internally for your school or whatever your organization may be, but getting out there in the community and talking about it and sharing and seeing how you can benefit and strengthen those ties, or benefit each other's worlds and then, make those lasting ties. So, yeah,
Mhm.
clearly lots of opportunity across any industry basically to have hydroponics as kind of the nucleus for all of those conversations and opportunities. It's such a beautiful and cool thing. I think, 20 years ago, a lot of people probably wouldn't have thought about the possibility of
Mhm.
this seemingly small agricultural development, but it's definitely more than that. So,
Right.
yeah,
And
you hit the nail on the head.
if
Yeah.
I can also add under our nonprofit Next Generation Harvest, and that's where I really saw the community piece of it, where I felt
Mm,
like there's so many people that don't have access to this resource. And I was actually brought back to my childhood school in Milwaukee, the Dominican Center, which
hmm.
is in the worst, at the time, most challenged zip code in the whole country.
Yeah.
I started and donated their first system. And they now have probably one of the most sophisticated hydroponic labs in North America. They
Wow.
have used it. They're a nonprofit organization that supports Amani residents, which again is a very economic challenge, education, jobs challenge community in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have grown for giveaways such as Thanksgiving. Last year, we grew 200 heads of cabbage, 200 bunches
Wow.
of collard greens for the giveaway, along with turkeys that the Dominican Center gives. This year, we gave away 400 bunches of collard greens. We're looking also, we use it as a fundraiser, and probably 300 marigold plants were grown in the lab to be able to use for fundraising, and then
Mm,
also for the outdoor raised beds, and then for beautification of the neighborhood. And so
wow.
the lab itself can grow over 5,000 plants in a season. And where we're moving now is really under that workforce development. So for any of the nonprofits out there, again, looking at reaching out from the schools, or if the teachers and educators know people that are looking for a way that nonprofits can, not only for youth but for adults, bring
Hmm.
value to the community. I really believe that hydroponics offers that because it's
Hmm.
indoors, it's all year long, and it can support that nonprofit with a way to raise funds.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very reliable and sustainable in that way. So yeah, it's a great outlet. I'm really excited. Okay, so this is my last question for you until we dig into audience questions, but I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Um, so Shelley, what would you say? What is your call to action for audience members here based on what we have covered so far this evening?
I would say that if you have hydroponics,
Mm.
and want to know more about using it as a tool, please reach out to us because we have a certain way that we can help you with curriculum and the project-based learning. But explore. Have you, and the number one, and this is what Miss Ray will always tell me, make sure that it is the kids program. We have
Mm.
so many, we know how the educators, you guys have a lot on your plate. You really do. You have a lot on your plate. And once we set up the strategy of the train the trainer, allow the kids to run the program because, as I
Yes.
said, we didn't know that we could grow radishes. We didn't know that we could grow so many things. And that came from the kids having the exploration and the excitement and, being able to feel like they were in control of their activity. And from that, the last grouping of kids, we saw raises in math, we saw grade raises, and of course science, but participation. And then I think for me, the biggest takeaway once the kids saw taking the seedlings and moving them out to the container garden. So still keeping in with the soil too, if you have that ability to keep your
Yeah.
program going all year long, is that many of those kids now have home gardens. And that's where we want to get, is that you're empowering these kids to say, I can do this. And bring it at home,
Yeah.
because there may be somebody in the house that used to garden that have no idea, and then you're doing generational change. So I would
Mm-hmm.
say for me, the biggest call to action is, if you want to learn more about hands-on, feel free to reach out to us, but really allow the kids to explore, allow them to take, fill up the machines with the water, do
Mm-hmm.
the data collection, have them involved so that they walk away with a sense of pride and a sense of accomplishment.
I love that. That was I knew it was going to be good. So I'm glad I asked
But more
it.
fun, have fun, have
Yeah, to
fun.
have fun. It's impossible to not have fun when
Yeah,
you're
have
when you're
fun.
yeah, getting your hands in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like one of our audience members is on the LCPS Green team. So she's in Loudoun County. So she said she would love to know more details about the Sterling School to see if it's someone who's also on her team. So we might be able to connect her and yourself, Shelley, after the
Yeah.
the webinar, and kind
Okay.
of maybe exchange emails or something, and then
Great.
collaborate there. Let's see. Okay, so maybe we can talk about weekends and longer breaks. So there's another individual who said her biggest problem with starting plants for hydroponics is the weekends,
Mm.
especially 3-day weekends and longer breaks. And so, with an inability to take plants home, but they need care, do you have any suggestions on regarding that timeline?
Well, all of our partner systems have timers, whether that's timers for the pumps and timers for the lights. If you don't have those on your systems, I would suggest buying those. You can always
Mhm.
connect them. But we have no problem. I've actually had a unit I left for 2 weeks and had set it on timers. As long as you're the main number one is make sure that you have water in your tank.
Yeah.
But 3-day weekends, things like that, should not be an issue unless you
Mm,
don't have a timer. And that depends on your equipment. But you should be able to, make sure that if you're leaving for a 3-day weekend, make sure you top off your water. Number one, you don't have
hmm
to worry as much, as you're not going to lose as much nutritional value on the nutrients in your water in a 3-day period. But the water is number one versus everything. And you should be able to leave it for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 days seems very, very manageable. Having dealt with hydroponics a bit myself. Um, yeah, so that's great. Yeah, timers are a huge help for sure. Somebody else was wondering, do we have any specific grant resources to refer them to? I know schools rely heavily on grants. Are there any off the top of your head, any websites or resources you want to share, Shelley?
Yeah, if you come to our website, www.FullCircle26 Inc., we do have grant resources. We do suggest starting out with your local PTA group. There is a lot of, I would say, uncertainty right now in the USDA and federal grants.
Yeah.
There's kind of a little bit of a hold there, but
hmm
we would suggest starting with your PTA group if you have it. Your local community groups, maybe your gardening groups for private foundations, and then you have the USD farm to table. But if you come to our website, we do have resources and the verbiage that you need for those grants. But I would say that you definitely want to make sure that, especially right now, because we're not really sure what's going on a federal level, is
Right.
to start on the local level. if you have units, okay? And I tell everybody this, we can teach you what is a cash crop. And you may not have to, you have a way to fund your systems. So, but if
Absolutely.
you come to our website, we do have resources for your grant writing.
Yeah, when you mentioned saffron earlier, I was like, hmm.
Cash crop, that's what we call
Crocus
a
flower.
cash
Yeah,
crop. Yeah.
that's what we call it. The poster child of cash crops is the
Yeah,
crocus
we don't
flower.
want to grow lettuce, no, unless it's
Yeah,
really like arugula or something like that, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Um, so it looks like the last individual I have not completely addressed yet. It's not an outright question necessarily, but she would love to keep the conversation going because she sees a lot of potential for this. So, her name is Lauren. I'm gonna say, Lauren, the best way to keep this conversation going is um, definitely reach out to us. So all of our information should be out there. She's also wondering, how do I sell the idea to our administration? I get how difficult that hurdle can be. And so definitely can collaborate on ways to help you get across that hurdle. And I know that Shelley and the Full Circle 26 team, as well as the Babylon team, are happy to continue the conversation going. So I actually do have a QR code that is going to be shared that you can scan to book a meeting with me. We can talk more, and I can rope Shelley in as well, obviously, to kind of brainstorm and figure out what we can do to help you there.
And I'm putting in my email
Mhm.
in the chat
Perfect.
also. And one thing I always say, because I have 40 years of sales in
Yes.
selling it to your administration, is what's in it for them?
Yeah.
You know, and that could be everything from raising grades to participation to we hate to see when schools just use the hydroponics and say, oh, we're growing hydroponics that puts us in the foyer, you know, just as a showcase. We don't agree to that at all. um
Yeah.
and so we can definitely give you pointers. Administrators are very important to the decision. And the thing is, people don't get hydroponics until they see it. Like, you know, they don't get it until they can actually see, oh my goodness, oh, this is actually something that is a teaching tool. And I would say that's how you want to approach it, is that this is for project based. We have curriculum now, virtual online curriculum that can support SOLs across the board. It gives discovery, learning, exploration. But also, if your schools are, you know, always maybe shorter on funds, go buy it by, hey, this is a way we can raise funds. You know, this is a
Hmm.
fundraiser, you know,
Yeah.
and so there's a couple different things that you can do to get those administrators. But I always say, find out what your administrators, you know, what are they looking for? You know,
Yeah.
what's in it for them? You know, even if you have to take a
Absolutely.
picture with them standing next to the machine, you know,
Yeah.
so
That's right.
you
That's
know,
right.
but that's a key thing.
Awesome. Well, I think we answered all the questions that were in the chat. I think I'm gonna just quick talk about our two products really quick for those who are unfamiliar with Babylon Microfarms. So obviously the STEM garden has been the center of parts of our conversation today, and is in my backdrop for one of our examples of it being in a classroom, but we do have another product called the Gallery, which, as you can see, is larger. This one is semi-autonomous, so the STEM garden is completely manual. We want it that way so the kids learn that responsibility to maintain, be independent, do all of that. And we've got an incredible partner, obviously, you guys just saw with Full Circle 26 and Shelley, to help with curriculum for the STEM. But the gallery is different. We serve a lot of different industries outside of K-12, including hospitality, so hotels, a lot of restaurants, cruise lines now, believe it or not. Lots of universities and senior living. So if you are interested in learning more about that, like I said, shoot me an email or scan that QR code. But we are, again, just so happy to have had the time with Shelley today. Shelley, I know that you are so busy. So again, thank you so much for letting us borrow your time and share all of your experiences. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them today with the audience. And again, we're just so happy to be your partner. And I know that a lot of people today watching took home a lot of really good nuggets of info. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I did notice that Miss Ray, who runs the Virginia program, is on the phone and I on the line too.
Oh,
And I want to give her, she was the person who really set us on this path of understanding that hydroponics is more than just a growing machine. It's a
yes.
tool, as she says, for life skills and learning how to use your resources. And so, feel free to reach out to us. We're very excited to help in any way that we can. And thank you, Alex, and the Babylon Group for inviting me to this. It was a great opportunity to share our excitement, and we love what you guys are doing at Babylon. The systems are beautiful. They are top quality as far as being able to provide food safety, plant safety, and really to have that exploration, not only for STEM, for culinary and more.
Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate you saying that. And with that, I hope you guys email Shelley. I know she put her email in the chat, and mine's still on the screen. So definitely be in touch. We are passionate about what we do and happy to talk about it and answer your questions. So hopefully we will see a lot of you even after this call. But thank you guys for joining. It was so nice to do this evening, and thank you again, Shelley. And we'll see you soon.
Take care.
All
Bye bye.
right, thanks. Bye.